Welcome to the Cinematic Flashback Podcast. Get ready to hop into the Wayback Machine as we journey through the wild, bold, and unforgettable films of the 1970s. This episode is going to be a little bit different as we're going to the midnight movies to see films we think you will enjoy. I am your host, Chuck Bryan, and joining me tonight is Mr. Kjel Nore. Welcome, Kjel.
Good evening. How are you?
I am doing great. I worked for you at the General Cinema in Bush River Road back in 1986.
Yeah, a long time ago.
I had just graduated from high school. My dad was getting tired of me not finding a job, so he found me a job at one of the worst gas stations that had a grill in town. And I think I was there all of a month before the mom of the girl that I was dating said, "Hey, they're hiring up at Bush River Cinemas. You should go check that out." So I went there, submitted my application. Edie Cantrell was one of the assistant managers at the time. I came in with the batch with, I can't remember her name. Her first name was Missy. I can't remember her last name, but she later... Missy Long, yeah. She later went on to be a manager at the Dutch Square Theaters when it became AMC.
Well, I got a job, basically the same as you. I had a horrible job at a pretzel place in the Ashley Mall in high school. And I said, I can't keep doing this. I couldn't stand it. And then my friend said, they're hiring at the theater here. So I went in and interviewed at the theater, Ashley Plaza, twin at the time. Then it was split to a triple. And remarkably got a job because the manager was only hiring good-looking girls for the most part. But for the ushers, he won a guy, so I got a job there.
Now, was this in Charleston,
This was in Charleston, South Carolina.
Yep.
Started there as an usher. Those were the old days. We used the pillbox hats and the tuxedo things. And that's when you were assigned as an usher to an auditorium. They had one usher per auditorium. So when you played something like Gone with the Wind for 3 months, you could memorize the lines because you were in that auditorium the whole time. So it was fun, but I did through high school, and then I did a couple of years at the College of Charleston, working on a political science degree, and decided I actually like working in the movies more than maybe going to work for the State Department. So just stayed with it and basically stayed in the industry for just shy of 47 years.
You had some leeway in programming the midnight movies. Well, what were you looking for in a midnight movie?
Well, in the midnight movie at that time, obviously we were looking, it was a program managers could run. There was actually a commission on them. And it was a sliding scale where if the movie made a certain amount of money, you get like a 5% commission or a 3% or a 10%. So obviously something that was going to do a lot of business was lucrative for me. As time went on and I got more successful and had one of the more successful programs at one year, actually the most successful midnight show program General Cinema had. They gave me a lot of leeway, and sometimes I'd throw movies in just for the hell of it, stuff I wanted to see or stuff I wanted the poster for, or I just said, let's just throw this in and see if it doesn't do business. And occasionally you got a surprise that did some business, and occasionally you had a show that played to 2 people. But they, the longer it went, the more they counted on me to know what I was playing, for me to know my audience. And, we did a lot of promotions on them too, to boost them. We tied in with the radio station and the Columbia one. We were tied in with a radio station that sponsored it. So we did a lot of wacky promotions, which kept it interesting too. So a lot of times we'd bring a movie in just to have an angle on a promotion we wanted to try.
I remember in high school hearing midnight movies and everyone was going. And my mom had a very strict, nothing good happens after 11 p.m. To be honest, I think my first midnight movies was when I was working for you and working on those Friday, Saturday nights. Probably some of my best memories of that was, usually afterwards, the group would go out to like the Waffle House or something like that afterwards and have dinner or have breakfast in the morning. Sometimes I think we would have like a Richland police officer, sheriff's deputy would work that. And they would oftentimes go out with us as well. And so we had a lot of fun during that time. Everyone who worked the midnights enjoyed it. So we had a lot of fun.
And we actually did that at the midnight shows I ran in Charleston. I actually started them at the Ashley Plaza, and then I got promoted to a new theater, a twin theater at the Charlestown Square Mall in North Charleston. And we ran them there, and then went back to Ashley Plaza for 6 months before I moved to Columbia. But we used to go out after the shows too. And we used to go to Sambo's, which is now defunct.
It was a kind of a pancake house, right?
Yeah, like a Denny's.
Yeah.
Like a Denny's. But it was interesting being in there at 3 o'clock in the morning because generally at 3 o'clock in the morning, the only people that were in Sambo's at that time were people working the midnight shows for us, or ABC theaters had theirs.
Okay.
Cops and off-duty hookers. So it was an interesting clientele in the Sambo's at 3 o'clock in the morning after the midnight shows.
At the Waffle House, for us, it was always around the time that bars were starting to close. We saw a lot of interesting things after 2. So I know my mom said that nothing good happens after 11. It's really nothing good happens after 2 or 2:30. It gets a little sketchy. Yeah. Kjel and I are going to be diving into our favorite midnight movies, but here's the twist. We haven't shared our list with each other. Instead, we prepared a few clues for each of us to see if we can guess the other's choice. And after the final clue, we'll take a shot at naming the film. Will we guess right, or will there be some surprises?
5.
This film's director tried to convince people that this story could be told in animation. Stanley Kubrick deemed it unfilmable. The film was mostly cast from the BBC Drama Repertory Company, and it included Christopher Guard, Anthony Daniels, and John Hurt. And although he didn't start off this way, the director shot the film live and then used a process of rotoscoping to animate the film. Although it was a success, the film's second part was never filmed.
Pretty sure I got this one.
What do you think that is?
Lord of the Rings.
It's Ralph Bakshi's The Lord of the Rings.
The Shire lives. Frodo lives.
Must have the precious.
Gollum lives. Gandalf lives.
The ring back.
Mordor lives. In a motion picture fantasy beyond imagination, J.R.R. Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings, rated PG.
People were so pissed off because it just stopped at
And here ends the first part of the tale of the Lord of the Rings.
And you heard a lot of F.
Here's the reason why I picked this one as a midnight movie. First of all, I loved the animated films when they would come to the midnight movies. If we were covering films from the 80s, heavy metal was one of my favorites whenever it would come around. I did not see any of the earlier Bakshi films at the time. The one that I wanted to see, because when I was in high school, I was a very big fan of Lord of the Rings. And I remember when this was playing at the Bush River Mall cinemas, and because of my mom's rule, nothing good happens after 11, there was no way that I was going to go see that at the midnight film. But shortly after, it went and it played. It did a double feature at the St. Andrews Multi-Cinema and Games with Bakshi's Wizard. I don't know what I was thinking that movie was going to be, but it was trippy. And later I learned most of Bakshi's films are pretty trippy.
Yeah, Bakshi was the midnight show king.
I'm going to hand it over to you.
Okay, let's do this. This one, Jack Nicholson was in it in a very small role. It was produced by Robert Stigwood. It was released by Columbia Pictures, and it was based on a 1969 album.
Is that it?
That's it.
Okay. I'm going to get this one wrong, but I'm going to swing for the fences. And I'm probably in the wrong decade. Was it Easy Rider?
No.
Oh. Okay. What did you have?
I'll give you another clue.
Okay.
Anne Margaret cut her hand filming this. Cut her hand live while they were filming it. It's actually in the movie. Think baked beans.
Gee, how about some more beans, Mr. Taggart? I'd say you've had enough.
Blazing Saddles.
No? Tommy.
Yes.
Columbia Pictures and Robert Stigwood present Anne Margaret, the mother, Jack Nicholson, the doctor, Elton John, the pinball wizard, Eric Clapton, the preacher, Tina Turner, the acid queen, the music, the Who, Tommy, the movie. Your senses will never be the same.
Tommy. Jack Nicholson was the psychiatrist they took him to.
If you would have said musical, I might have gotten it.
That would have been too easy. But you should know with Robert Stigwood, it was a musical.
Yeah. I should have got that one. I think your clues are going to be way harder than my clues, but I love it. I don't mind. Okay, we're going to go to number 4.
4.
My clue is this. This film's director waited several years before making this sequel. so that he wouldn't get typecast as a horror director. The movie featured a progressive rock score composed by Goblin, while other stock cues were used. Although given an X rating, the film was released unrated to improve its commercial success. It was noted for a satirical portrayal of consumerism.
Goodness.
The tables have turned.
Probably the most blatant movie about consumerism is They Live, but I don't know whether that was a 70s movie.
That was 80s.
That was 80s, yeah.
If the living don't get you, the shambling hordes will.
Dawn of the Dead?
Dawn of the Dead.
In 1968, George Romero brought us Night of the Living Dead. It became the classic horror film of its time. Now, George Romero brings us the most intensely shocking motion picture experience for all times. Dawn of the Dead. Dawn of the Dead contains scenes of violence that may be considered shocking. No one under 17 will be...
Oh, I should know that, because I had, for the longest time, I had stock in George Romero's company.
Was it good?
No, I got out after about 5 years even, so I call that a good day.
There you go. That's actually Nate, a neat bit of trivia there. I chose this one mainly because I like how this film starts off. It's very fast and it's furious. It's over the top with the SWAT team storming this tenement building that has been overtaken by zombies that the people have died, and they placed them down into the cellar, and now they're getting out of the cellar. And then it just kind of finally cranks down into second gear a little bit afterwards once they get to the mall. I've always enjoyed this film. It's not one that I've seen at a midnight, but if it was playing at the midnight, I would go and see it.
Most malls now look like they have Dawn of the Dead type.
And I know one bit of trivia about the movie is the Monroeville Mall is where the film was shot. After several years of always talking about it as we're passing by, my wife said, why don't we just go ahead and stop there so that you can see it? You can kind of get the feeling of where everything was, but without having someone there to actually guide you and show you where the filming locations where you're, kind of feeling
lost.
Like, okay, this sort of looks like it, but it had greatly changed. So,
cool.
All right.
My number 4 here is hard. It features Mark Hamill in his debut performance.
Is that all I get?
And to give you a hint, it is his voice performance. The director asked the studio for an increase in his budget to finish filming it. He was at a meeting at 20th Century Fox. Also at that same meeting was George Lucas asking to get an increase in his budget for a little film called Star Wars.
Would it be Wizards?
Yes.
Out of the imagination of Ralph Bakshi, master of animation, comes the story of a mystical land in the far distant future. A land inhabited by enchanted creatures. A land ruled by wizards.
Attention! Leaders of tomorrow's master race!
The evil Black Wolf, wizard of darkness, who summons up the creatures of hell and launches an army of mutants, monsters, and unspeakable horror upon the gentle people of Montaga. Only one force stands in the path of Black Wolf's evil horde, the Wizard of Good, the Messiah of Peace, the mighty Avatar.
You gotta be kidding. I'm too old for this sort of thing.
Ralph Bakshi's epic animated adventure, Wizards, rated PG.
The director was obviously Bakshi,
Whoa.
and Fox turned both of them down.
Was that one that you showed?
Oh, we showed them. I'm still shown that 50 times, or a decade and a half of running midnight shows.
3.
We're going to go on to the next one. All right, here's the clue. This movie was filmed at an old country estate named Oakley Court, which was best known for its early use by Hammer Films. In fact, a number of the props and set pieces were reused from Hammer Films. The costume designer claimed that her creations for the film directly impacted the development of punk rock fashion trends, such as torn fishnet stockings and colorfully dyed hair. Although it failed miserably on its initial reception, it became a hit at midnight movies, where audiences started participating with the film at the Waverly Theater in New York City in 1976.
Was this possibly a film that was added to the National Film Registry by the Library of Congress in 2005?
It may have been.
Rocky Horror Picture Show.
You've seen all kinds of movies, but you've never seen anything like the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
They're probably foreigners with ways different than our own.
I'm just a sweet transvestite.
See the Rocky Horror Picture Show. A different set of Jaws. Rated R.
It could only be. The best part of the Rocky Horror Picture Show was that was the one that we didn't have to bus up afterwards.
Yes.
Because you would have your cleaning crew come in the next morning, and those guys would pull out their leaf blowers and blow all of the rice and toast and newspapers and everything else all the way to the bottom of the theater. And then they would, sweep it all up.
Yeah. I imagine theaters that I ran that played Rocky Horror probably had 50 tons of rice taken out of them over the years.
I honestly thought it was a horror movie. I really did. I really did. It was only from my friends in high school who had gone to see it. They described the audience participation aspect of it and how everyone would talk back to the screen. They would make up the next line. And I thought it sounded a lot like fun. I did see it once when I was working at Bush River. I found it very difficult to get through.
And that was actually the most profitable show. I think in Bush River, when I left Bush River, they have a report then the grosses, and Rocky Horror was number 2 gross for that particular theater. It was only beaten by Grease, which played for a year. Grease played 52 weeks, and Rocky Horror just playing midnights only caught up with it. And one little trivia on Rocky Horror. I don't know you were there when we started playing it. Okay, but we actually had to. There were some people that asked for it, a few college kids, and we invited them to come in.
Mm-hmm.
I think 4 of them for free, obviously. And then we had a couple of employees that they went over the stick, the participation.
Okay.
So we basically had to seed the audience the first 4 or 5 weeks.
I see you shiver with anticipation.
Until it kind of caught on, and then people said, we can really light up the lighters, and it's okay, and kind of created a monster. But we had kind of, help it along a little bit to get it going.
Ooh, I'd never really thought about how did it all start?
Well, the employees learned it from the 4 kids we got from college there, and I think they had picked it up from the Waverly. Maybe they had seen it at other places playing at midnight, because we didn't start playing at midnight as early as some other theaters. So it was pretty well established. So they kind of knew the drill from other venues that they had participated in. But it was a little cutting edge for Columbia at the time.
I think it's your turn.
It's my turn. Okay, let's see here. This film featured cameos from many stars, including Donald Sutherland and George Lazenby. It was made for a budget of only $650,000.
Okay.
David Letterman auditioned for the role of the newscaster, but didn't get it.
Okay.
It basically launched the career of the Zucker brothers of airplane fame, although they were writers on this film.
My Zucker brothers that I'm thinking of is Airplane, it's Top Secret, and it's Police Squad. And those are the ones that I know of.
Yeah, those are the ones they wrote and directed. They just wrote for this one.
And I think all of those were maybe early 80s time frame.
Mm-hmm. Director also did probably the best werewolf movie ever.
This wouldn't be Animal House, would it?
No.
I was thinking John Landis.
Yeah, John Landis is correct. He was the director. It was pre-Animal House.
I am drawing a blank on this one.
Kentucky Fried Movie.
Award-winning motion picture producer, Samuel L. Bronkowitz.
I have spent a lifetime in the motion picture industry. Now, after 50 years in Hollywood, I have finally produced what I feel is the finest motion picture ever made. I have called it the Kentucky Fried Movie. The Kentucky Fried Movie heralds the return to traditional values.
Hey!
I'm not wearing any pants. Film at 11.
It is a film of heartfelt passion, A great love story. Oh, take me to the drive-in, prove it up. I invite every man, woman, and child to share with me the joy and warmth of the Kentucky Fried Movie. It will knock your socks off.
Oh my gosh. What year did that come out?
That was 77.
1977. I think the first time I saw that, after I had worked at the movie theaters, I went and worked for a video store for a little while. I remember Kentucky Fried Movie showed up on one of the trailer reels that they would always show inside the video store. It was a hilarious film. I'm sure something like that did really good at the midnight theaters.
Yeah, it was a good midnight show. Some of the criteria for a good midnight show are things that can be enjoyed in various states of inebriation.
Well, hey, man. Hey, I got something that'll mellow you out, man. You're just freaking out here.
Any number of chemicals.
Was there any consideration to the runtime of a movie when you were picking it up? Because something like The Lord of the Rings, it was a 2-hour film at least.
Yes, because obviously the short run time is better because it was already 2 o'clock in the morning. People want to go home. So we would very rarely run really long shows. And the couple that are not on my list, obviously, that were really long, or like The Song Remains the Same, the Led Zeppelin concert film was very long. I think Woodstock was really long. That was a long one. Those are the two that really jump out to me that we ran as midnight shows. Are pretty long. And then, of course, they might have been from the 70s. And I think towards the end, I actually ran Apocalypse Now one time as a midnight show, and that was a very long film. So generally, we tried to stay away from them. Or if we did run them, we tried to book a couple of long ones the same week. So we weren't there so late. Keep payroll down.
See, there you go. It's all about the return.
It is.
2.
I'll go ahead and give you my clue first.
Okay.
And see if you can get this one. This is a Roger Corman produced film set in a dystopian American society after the world crash of 1979. The U.S. is restructured into a totalitarian regime under martial law. So due to the film's low budget, many of the scenes were shot on public highways. The two leading stars did most of their own stunts using built cars that were not street legal and could very well have been impounded by the police. Roger Ebert originally gave this film 0 stars in his review, deriding its violence and lamenting its appeal. Later, however, he named this film as a part of a great tradition of summer drive-in movies, but refused to change his star ratings.
Gosh. Only thing that comes to mind is Death Race.
It's Death Race 2000.
The year 2000. America is a vast speedway. People line the streets to witness the greatest drivers on Earth in a race from sea to shining sea.
This is a death race.
You finish first, or not at all. Death Race 2000. Every car a deadly weapon. Every spectator a potential point. It's a cross-country road wreck, and the traffic is murder.
Who are you, anyway?
The best driver on Earth.
I don't want you to die.
He was built by the world's finest surgeons to drive the fastest car ever designed, and nothing can stop him now. Death Race 2000, rated R.
It was Robert Carradine and Sylvester Stallone. They did the majority of their own stunts in that film. And I think that's the film that started the, when you're driving with somebody and they say, hey, that bicyclist over there, 50 points. If you hit a horse.
Yep. I think they actually remade that at some point, like 1910s or something, similar to it.
Yeah, they made a Death Race 2008. It was no fun at all. It was way too serious. And I think it lost the camp of it. It lost that appeal as well. Let's hear your next film.
Let's see. Well, one of mine we've already done, my top 5.
Oh, which one did I get of yours?
Rocky Horror.
Ah, okay. Well, I think we covered that one.
I'm going to have to go to the honorable mentions.
We can go to the honorable mentions because that's what I had up next.
Okay, I'm going to give you a clue though. See if you can get this.
Okay.
This movie is probably the reason that many Americans think the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor.
It wasn't 1941, was it?
No, but you got the director right. No, you don't have the director. Excuse me.
No, that was Spielberg. It's not Animal House, is it?
Animal House.
It's about how one term at Faber College can turn nice, clean-cut kids into a pack of shambling, drink-sodden degenerates. Animal House is a salute to the three pillars of our great culture: lust, liquor, and the willful destruction of property. National Lampoon's Animal House, Certificate AA, in the West End from Thursday.
Was it over when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor?
John Belushi said that one, right?
Yep.
And he was also in 1941. And my first honorable mention also was Animal House.
There we go.
Do you mind if we dance with your dates?
So there we go. Great minds think alike. I picked this one because I thought that it was a very funny movie, and a great funny movie, as we were saying earlier, that's something that's going to keep you awake at the midnight movies. And I thought that this was a great vehicle for John Belushi.
Yeah. And 1941 was not a bad picture. Underappreciated. I actually like it.
Since we both had Animal House, I'm going to my second honorable mention. And this film, it's very similar to Death Race 2000. While Death Race is much more of a midnight movie, but I could have easily have swapped it out with this film. In the end, I decided to go ahead and bring it down into my honorable mentions. So my second honorable mention is Mad Max.
Mad Max. He's the only law in a future world gone mad. They killed his partner. Attacked his wife and child. Now it's his turn, and Max is mad. Mad Max, the maximum force of the future. Rated R.
It's a good one. And that was definitely low budget.
That was about as low budget as you can get. And it blows my mind to see the latest film, Furiosa, and even Fury Road, the previous film, how big budget the movie was. But I actually preferred Road Warrior. I think that's the most fun, and I thought that really defined that look in the 80s. But we're going to stick it to 70s, so I'm going to pull out Mad Max versus Toe Cutter.
No, it was Mad Max, that's the one that had Humongous in it, right? The bad guy?
Greetings from the Humongous, the Lord Humongous, the warrior of the wasteland, the Ayatollah of rock and roller.
Humongous was in Road Warrior. Toe Cutter was in Mad Max. And the actor who played Toe Cutter came back and played Morton Joe in Fury Road.
Just some personal trivia. The actor that played Humongous, his first name was also Kjel.
Really? I think I saw a picture of him recently.
Well, you should see me without a shirt on. The resemblance is uncanny.
It's uncanny. Okay, what was your second honorable mention?
Let's see. I'll give you one of the clues. Nominated for the Hugo Award for Best Dramatic Presentation. Rick Baker did the special effects. It was originally rated X.
Was it directed by John Landis?
No.
Rick Baker. What else, Saint?
This is early in his career. He's just starting.
Because I was originally thinking American Werewolf.
There were two movies I always started my midnight shows with: at Ashley Plaza, Charlestown Square, and Bush River. The first two shows, believe it or not, was the Zeffirelli version of Romeo and Juliet on one screen, and the other was this movie, Flesh Gordon.
Gentlemen, we are in big trouble.
You've heard about it. You've read about it. Now, finally, you can see it.
It will be a dangerous trip, and I don't know what we're likely to encounter out there. But someone has got to save the Earth from the treacherous clutches of that evil ray.
Sure. Why not? We'll give it a try.
Blast off with Flesh Gordon and his cosmic crusade against all evil. Witness the unbelievable, death-defying feats of that most remarkable superhero of them all, Flesh Gordon. Journey with Flesh Gordon through the dangerous outer reaches of intergalactic space as he joins forces with the mysterious professor and the lovely Dale Arder to save the Earth from the incredible sex ray.
It's so strange in here. Flesh, it almost looks alive.
Flesh Gordon, the preposterous. Be swept away to the dazzling heights of astonishment as you enter worlds unknown.
I'm Prince Precious, rightful heir to the throne of porno.
What is it? The floor! It's opening! Join Flesh Gordon as the crafty Emperor Wang unleashes the forces of interstellar tyranny against him in 100 mind-boggling adventures. Flesh Gordon.
Look!
An outrageous parody of yesteryear's superhero.
It's the 8th wonder of the world.
Oh, boy. Not to be confused with the original Flash Gordon.
I have never seen that.
You've never seen?
I've never seen Flesh Gordon.
You've got to love a movie that has a character named Dr. Flexi Jerkoff. Come on. And the poster's pretty good. I've got some of the posters. Believe it or not, the poster's actually pretty valuable now.
Okay, I'll give you my next honorable mention. I like going to see a good scary film, and this movie had a very scary piano theme that was written by the director of the film. It was set in a small Midwest town as a group of babysitters were stalked on the titular holiday name of the film. It was the night that he came home.
Only thing I can think of is Black Christmas.
Black Christmas would be a lot of fun, but I was going with Halloween.
I think he'll come back.
Halloween, the night he came home. Rated R.
Halloween, okay. So John Carpenter theme, okay.
I did go out to see Halloween when it had a recent re-release, and walking from the theater to the car in the parking lot was a little intimidated. I walked pretty quickly for that one, and I checked in the back seat as well. I believe you have one more honorable mention?
Yeah, one more honorable mention. I'll give you one of the clues. And this is probably from a review. 007 in a diaper.
Ooh. 007 being James Bond in a diaper.
Or the actor. The role, the starring role originally was cast with Burt Reynolds.
This is Sean Connery.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get the name of it wrong, but is it Zardon?
Zardoz speaks to you, his chosen ones. The gun is good. Go forth and kill.
Zardoz, yes.
Yes.
I have never, that's another one I haven't seen.
Yeah, it's a John Borman film. And originally Burt Reynolds was going to play the lead, but he had some health issues and had to. But it was a John Borman film he did. The next film he did after that was Excalibur.
Going back to Lord of the Rings, John Borman was writing a script before Bakshi became involved in it.
Zardoz was a good one. He used to bring a lot of the stoners would come in for Zardoz.
Okay, I have seen Sean Connery in the outfit. Well, is it worth watching? Or is it fun?
It's a little ham-fisted in its message and a little too definitely 70s trippy.
Okay.
I mean, you see a lot of things that were popular in the 70s styles in there that have not aged well, but it's definitely a fun ride.
Okay, so I actually now want to see that film. I want to see that one just because I've seen the pictures of it and I have never seen the film, and I'm always looking at it and I say, surely that cannot be James Bond.
Yes, and he picked that to break out of the Bond roles.
Well, mission accomplished.
Yeah,
sir.
he did break out, absolutely.
1. Now we're back to our number one, and I will give you my number one clue.
Okay.
This film was set in the Middle Ages. The co-directors had never directed a film before, and they described it as a learning experience in which they could learn to make a film by making an entire full-length film. Investors in this movie included Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, and Jethro Tull's Ian Anderson, mainly because no studio would fund the film and the rock star saw it as a tax write-off. However, there was not enough budget for horses. So instead, these were mined.
Every time I played that, the local Kroger noticed an upswing in sales of coconuts.
Nice. That is Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Once in a lifetime, there comes a motion picture which changes the whole history of motion pictures. A picture so stunning in its effect, so vast in its impact, that it profoundly affects the lives of all who see it. One such film is...
Very good, thank you. Yes, thank you. Next, please.
That's the round table, we dance when we're able. We do routines to call a scene.
故事紧张。
One day, lad, all this will be yours.
What, the curtains? Run away!
Trivia. This was the first midnight movie that I went to see. I could not get past the opening credits without laughing embarrassingly loud. It takes a dip there somewhere in the middle, but then it starts to pick up, and then it just sort of kind of ends.
I probably played that 100 times and probably know 100 lines that I still say to this day occasionally.
My wife does not like Monty Python humor, and I'm not sure if she doesn't like Monty Python humor or she doesn't like British humor or something. One night I wake up and I hear her laughing. I look on the television and she's watching Monty Python and the Holy Grail, and it's gotten to the scene of the holy hand grenade and the rabbit coming out and attacking them all. She was just laughing at the film, and I'm like, yes, got her to watch one of these.
The Holy Hand Grenade of Antioch.
Okay, what is your final movie?
That's my final one as well.
Really?
Yep.
Yes, that is great. I was going to throw in something about Beware the Shrubbery's Guardians, because you won't expect their particular demands.
Well, you could always quote a line from it too. It's like, we shouldn't be worried about who killed who. It's supposed to be a happy occasion.
I will have no singing. No singing.
No
singing. So before we close out, I did want to mention a Facebook group called Cinema of the 70s. And I highly recommend looking this up and joining it. They're always posting really great ideas for movies that I think we will be covering in the future. I posted a question asking what others' favorite midnight movies were of the 70s. And just a shout out to Joe Romanato and John Hayden for their suggestions, including Eraserhead.
Mm-hmm.
That was David Lynch, right?
Good. Yeah, David Lynch. Great movie. Yeah.
Liquid Sky. I haven't seen that one.
Another good one.
I don't think I've even heard of it.
Oh, yeah.
They recommended one of yours, Tommy. A film called Performance, Easy Rider, El Topo, which is actually very interesting because if you look up midnight movies, El Topo is always mentioned.
Yeah, I played that a couple of times.
And then finally, of course, they recommended the Rocky Horror Picture Show, which we both agreed on. I think we have a great list of midnight movies. If anybody wants to go and pull out one of these and enjoy it again, and if you're in your own house and you're watching Rocky Horror Picture Show, the cleaning crew will not be there to blow out the rice toast, and that's all going to be on you. I may have mentioned this to you before, but a friend of mine from high school was posting on Facebook about how much they really enjoyed the midnight movies at the Bush River Cinemas. And I told him that I would pass that on to you. I mean, you just gave a lot of folks in Columbia a great 2 hours of goofy, exciting, late night fun.
Well, it's very nice of you, very kind of you to say that. It was a good time of my life.
Thank you, Kjel, for coming on and talking about midnight movies. I also want to thank our listeners for joining us. If you want to contact us, you can email us at podcast@cinematicflashback.com or leave a comment on our Facebook page, the Cinematic Flashback Podcast. Also, we're trying to build this show, and we would deeply appreciate a review on the platform you're listening to. And if you enjoyed the show, please give us a 5-star review so we can reach more listeners. So join us next time as we take the Wayback Machine to the 70s to explore another film from that decade.
You've got to love a movie that has a character named Dr. Flexi Jerkoff. Come on.